All right, welcome back, world, to the fifth episode of the greatest stormwater podcast series in North Carolina, the Stormwater Circuit Riders. I'm your host, Bill Hunt, a William Neal Reynolds professor and extension specialist in the Biological and Agricultural Engineering Department at NC State. And yes, this is emanating from beautiful West Raleigh on the NC State campus. And by the way, this is the St. Patty's Day special because we're recording this right before St. Patty's Day. And joining me today is Jason Wright, who is with Tetra Tech, Water Resource Engineer at Tetra Tech.
Yes, hi Bill.
Hi, that's perfect. And he has his, I want everyone to know he has his Irish hat on. And then we have Giselle Rodriguez, who doesn't get more Irish than that. Giselle Rodriguez, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
City Engineer, City of Fayetteville. And then Katie Schoenefeld. Katie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're great. Because we're having a St. Patty's Day special today. What is the color of St. Patty's Day, everybody?
Green.
Green. All right. And so we're talking about green streets. And I've got some experts here on green streets. So before we get cranking, let's talk about everyone's favorite St. Patrick's Day moment. I'm going to start with Giselle.
I don't really have any major memories other than being pinched all the time because I didn't wear green.
Okay. Jason, do you have any memories of St. Patrick's Day?
My
People
memories
pinching you?
St. Patrick's Day are a little fuzzy.
They're fuzzy.
No one's ever pinched me.
No one's ever pinched. Hey, Katie, you got any St. Patty's Day memory?
Oh gosh, probably eating some really good chocolate Guinness cupcakes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did spend 3 weeks in Ireland, but it was not on St. Patrick's Day.
That's all right, but you have good Irish memories.
Yeah, I'm still going to count.
Ireland is, if you've never been, and I'm not here to do a travel log or anything, but Ireland's one of the great countries to visit. And if you listen to some Irish music, just remember the following, that all their songs tie into one of five things. Love, which of course, you know, all across the globe, leaving Ireland, getting drunk, disliking the British, and death. And so in a good song, we'll wrap in a whole bunch of them. Like there's one called Fields of Athenry. It's a great song. Great song. It's a moving song, beautiful song. It's about a person not liking the English, stealing, hunger. I should have put hunger in there. There's a lot of songs about hunger. He stole potatoes to feed his kid.
Got to work in potatoes.
They put him on a boat and sent him to Australia. So that's a good song. Oh, and it's love song because his wife is saying goodbye. I'm going to miss you. That's like bringing in four of the big six things from Irish music. Anyway, let's go now and focus a little bit more on other green things like green streets. So let's start. Katie. Oh, by the way, Katie is with Mueller. I get it right?
Yeah, Mueller.
I said it 5 different times, so one of the ways is probably going to be good. And she's an engineer, water resource engineer in Mueller, out in Lakeland, Colorado? Lakewood,
part of
Colorado?
Denver.
I'm glad I wrote it down. Anyway, Katie, how would you real quick describe what a green street is?
Well, a green stormwater street kind of tries to treat and reduce runoff at its source. So instead of piping it off somewhere else to be treated or just discharging it straight into a stream, it's trying to slow it down, filter it before it enters those. Can use a bunch of different stormwater practices, bioretention cells, permeable pavement, suspended pavement. But what's really cool about a green street is it really involves the community in the stormwater treatment. The people walk past it, they see it, lots of street trees to provide shade. So just kind of overall a great thing for a city to have.
That's awesome. And I'm going to ask Giselle a question real quick, but I should point out that Katie did her master's specifically on green streets from NC State and is since doing great things in Colorado. So based upon what we just heard Katie say, Giselle, what is it that appealed to Fayetteville to put in the state's probably longest green street?
The green street that we incorporated in Fayetteville is along Person Street, which is one of the main corridors into the downtown district.
Right.
So this area was one of those 2 blocks of the street that was still unimproved and was still pretty much dilapidated, and it really needed a makeover.
Right. So you'd say aesthetics were a pretty big driver then?
Definitely. It was aesthetic, and initially when the project was envisioned, it was envisioned as a typical streetscape project,
right.
Just to improve the aesthetics.
Right. But how did you go from let's make this thing pretty or prettier to let's make it a stormwater street?
When it was given to my department to do it as a streetscape, because we designed all the streetscape for the city, I had already been involved somewhat seeing presentations about the Green Street. And when I realized that we had so much right-of-way that we really didn't need, given that we had additional lanes that we really did not need for the traffic that we had for the area, we felt that a road diet would be convenient.
You said a road diet.
A road diet.
So that's important coming at St. Patrick's Day, not to eat too much corned beef and cabbage. Is that essentially what you're telling me?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so what is a road diet, just for those that don't know?
A road diet is essentially like just narrowing the street. So we were just some people joke in the city and say we're just widening to the inside. So
widening to the inside.
We are just narrowing the street, just eliminating lanes. We are just eliminating lanes and repurposing those lanes to be used for something that could provide other benefits.
Such as?
On this case, we are providing benefits for stormwater. We are, instead of incorporating some other measures, just traditional landscaping, we are utilizing that to provide landscaping plus storing water on site through bioinfiltration areas that could also provide the stormwater benefits, as Katie just alluded to.
So Katie, what are, you did your research on this street. What are some of the other practices that, and by the way, Giselle mentioned bioinfiltration. Maybe explain what that is to the world.
Yeah, so bioinfiltration at Person Street, we called our bioretention cells bioinfiltration bump outs. The bump out part helped with the street diet, but the bioinfiltration part, Fayetteville has very nice sandy soils that allow for a lot of water to infiltrate. So for these ones, not all of the bioinfiltration bump outs had under drains, and we allowed the water to infiltrate into the soils instead of flowing through an under drain.
Right. What are the other practices that were along the street?
Along this street, we also had permeable pavement parking stalls that were permeable interlocking concrete pavers. We had suspended pavement systems, which were Silvacell branded.
What does that mean, a suspended pavement?
Yeah, so it's kind of like bioretention underneath the surface. So you have structural supports under permeable pavement, and inside those structural supports is loosely compacted soil. And you can have street trees growing into that, and that space underneath the permeable pavement filled with loose soil can store a lot of water as well as treat it.
So the permeable pavement essentially is like a pre-treatment tool?
Yes, and it's a surface instead of having, you could also have normal concrete or other things and then get the water to the suspended pavement a different way. But yes, it's a pre-treatment and also it looks good.
Yeah, okay. So those are the three practices that were used on the street.
Yes, we had one other Filterra system at the very downstream end of the street that was kind of a polisher for the water as well.
And the Filterra is, just for our listening audience?
Yeah, it's a proprietary system with a tree or shrub that kind of comes in a concrete box, and it has it's a flow-through rapid filter device. So it has this proprietary media that's supposed to help treat for nutrients, phosphorus and nitrogen. It doesn't slow down the water any or reduce the volume, just helps with water quality.
Okay, cool. All right, Giselle, now this was the first Green Street in Fayetteville, first in at least that part of North Carolina. Tell me, how smooth was the bidding process?
The bidding process was quite a challenge. We bid the project 5 times.
Did you say 5?
Yes, you heard that
5?
right.
5 times?
Yes.
Was that a record?
It was a record.
I mean, what was the previous record? 2 times?
On a regular bid, we have bidded up to 3 times.
3 times. So we cleared this hurdle by 2 bids.
Definitely.
All right, well, let's hear why. Why is 5 times?
We had bidders that had concerns about the requirement to be specialized in installing the stormwater features or having experience doing this type of projects in the past. The bidders that we had interested in the area did not have prior knowledge of doing any of these devices in the past, so they had concerns about that. So we ended up removing the requirement. Still had concerns from the bidders saying, well, in reality, we don't have the bonding capacity to be able to provide for such a project. At the time, the project was combined with also a roundabout at one of the sides of the project.
Right.
So we decided to remove the roundabout, split the project in two, so the roundabout will be separated from the Green Street, which at the time then allowed the project to be smaller in nature.
Affordable
for the bonding.
Right.
So issued a bid again, still did not receive any bids. So this time they said, well, the project had an aggressive construction time schedule. So we elected to extend the time and tried again multiple times, and then until eventually the contractors, in the 5th time, we ended up getting a single bid, and we ended up having to negotiate with that contractor.
So you basically, you bid out these people in submission. Like when you went to go finally get to did you have to strong arm them? Like, look, if you bid, if you don't bid, I'm gonna, beat you up tonight?
No.
You didn't do any of
We
that?
actually got on the phone with a lot of contractors to see if they would at least put a bid, but
And then they actually turned you down?
yeah,
That's amazing.
They did
'cause
not
I
want
cannot
to
turn
try
you down.
it. Yeah.
You're such a persuasive woman. That's incredible. But it got bid.
We got one.
Yeah, you got one.
Just
That's all
one.
you need, apparently. Right.
We just got one on the 5th one, and we negotiated with him and ended up getting the project
He did a
moving.
good job, right?
They did a really good job.
Yeah.
And the good thing about it is that some of the suppliers for some of the materials provided the guidance on site, so that way they didn't have to have prior knowledge. They were trained on site.
Like the Silva Cell people, for
Like
example.
the Silva Cell.
Yeah.
And at least that gives the contractor and the city the peace of mind that the work was being done appropriately.
Right, that's good. I know they also subbed out the permeable pavement to
Correct.
Fred Adams, who's here in Raleigh, Morrisville actually does a great job too. So it's a beautiful project. And do people look at it now and say, man, that's a beautiful project?
It is. It is
Do
beautiful.
people say that?
Yes.
Do you get letters to the editor saying, I love this project?
Well, not really.
Not really.
Not really. We do receive some positive comments. A lot of people do say, wow, this is a huge improvement. This is definitely a facelift to this particular area of town.
Right.
However, we do have some of the other individuals that say, well, you have those bioinfiltration bump outs that have a depressed elevation, and now is a potential for someone to fall in, and they have concerns of that nature. But it's nothing different that you will find
Have
in
we
any other
heard this
area.
happening?
No.
And by the way, Katie, you were on the street a lot. I mean, would you have concerns with people falling into the bump outs?
There was quite a bit of distance from the sidewalk to the bump outs. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic that does walk on the street.
Would you say
along
walk or
Person Street.
meander?
Meander's a better word.
Yeah.
Stroll. So that would maybe be a little more concerning, but that's not general pedestrian behavior. So
Well, it kind of is
yeah.
for there, though, right? I mean, there's a lot of meandering. And part of the idea of uplifting a street is to take it out of this current status, right, of being, and Giselle said, I'm just repeating what she said, dilapidated, right? I mean, would you agree that we needed to take it from a dilapidated, would you agree it was in a dilapidated state prior?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely needed some work. And I think it really helps beautify the area and will hopefully draw more businesses, or at least more people to that area, which will continue making it a better area.
So let's talk about some of the funny stories, because didn't someone joyride with some construction equipment?
Definitely. We had an excavator that was just parked on the side, and we had someone meandering, just strolling through the area, and just hopped in the excavator and just drove away.
Where did they go? I mean, where do you go with the excavator?
Eventually, they just
Wherever you
stopped. They just stopped it at the bridge and just left it, and took the keys with it. So
Oh, seriously? So there's a key for excavator out there.
at somewhere, the
amazing.
contractor had to get another
Did it
one
block
made.
traffic?
Not really. They actually put it on the
What
side.
was considered?
He was actually driving with the traffic until he eventually stopped it and just left running. But
Well,
That's like a college bet. I mean, I used to guys, the train that runs through NC State campus. There used to be, we'd be camping out for games, and the train would slow down, and these, usually guys would, in fact, all exclusively guys, would run and jump on the train and just ride it into downtown Raleigh. That's like a bet. hey, how much you guys want to bet I'll drive this excavator? But
Oh, he was laughing the whole time.
he was laughing.
So, yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
you
what my
observed
guys were
this?
doing.
This was in the middle of the day? He didn't do it at 3 in the morning? Or?
No, it was in the middle of the
Right in the
day.
middle of
Actually,
the
the guy that had
All
just
right.
come down from the excavator went into the trench,
Right.
and one of the other ones just walking around, just hopping.
He just
So
left
it wasn't parked. He just turned his back on it for a
I have
minute.
never heard of that, but I guess it may happen. And then how about there's a Greyhound station there, right, Katie?
Yes, there is.
And one of the interesting things, I'm going to go back to Giselle, but in the Greyhound, those are pretty big buses.
Right.
So tell me about how the Greyhound station played into the design of the site.
Well, we were designing the the street. There's one of the bioinfiltration bump outs that is directly in front and adjacent to the driveway to the Greyhound station.
Right.
So we modify the radius coming out of the Greyhound, and we even modify it further on in the field.
Like as you were watching the buses.
Well,
pull
yes,
out, right?
we actually were staking it, and we had a bus come out, and we were drawing it out there on site
Wow.
to make sure that we were giving them enough radius, and we took out, quite a bit of area to ensure that they had
Yeah.
enough of a turning radius.
Right.
Still, they had several buses that will not make the turn and fall in,
So
kind
the
of fall
buses get
inside.
trapped in the Bebos.
I'm not sure how many, but every time I get a picture, I say, you got this one today, you have a bus in your Bebo. And I say, well, it ain't my Bebo, it's the city's Bebo, but it ain't my bus. But, it was unfortunate. They were able to get the bus. The good thing is that the Bebo did not get
That tells a lot about the
destroyed.
construction of the
Yes.
Bebo. That was done well.
There was a minor scratches on the curb, but yeah, minor scratches is not
That's just
that
gonna
big of a
happen.
deal.
Look at my van. I mean, it's loaded with minor scratches. They don't face me at all.
Yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
now the Greyhound has relocated to the new
Oh, really?
transportation
Hub?
transfer station.
Yeah, yeah.
So now the Greyhound buses are not going to have to deal with the turning radius of the Bebo.
I mean, talk about gross solid capture. That takes the cake right there.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Collect
All right.
buses.
So
That's
to
pretty
close off with the Green Street, I mean, we've teased a bit about it, but you guys really like the project, right?
We love it.
You love it.
Yeah, we love
And by
it.
the way, everyone at home that are listening, and the 17 of you that are on right now, I mean, there was a smile in the woman's heart when she said, we love it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
So when are you going to change it from Person Street to Rodriguez Avenue?
And
Is
no,
that-
really,
is
I
that
hope
gonna
that's not
happen?
the
'Cause
case.
it's your Green Street, right?
No,
For-
it's the city's Green Street.
according to
I'm
everyone
happy
else.
to be able
I think that depends on who
to.
you talk to.
I'm happy to be able to work with the city and pull
Right.
projects like this.
Right.
So.
Well, Katie, now that thing's done, obviously you
Yeah.
graduated before we were able to monitor it for various and sundry reasons. So she did a modeling. What does your modeling project how well this street will work?
Yeah, so it's really great. Between pre-retrofit and post-retrofit for the simulations, I found that we predict the average percent difference for all the events runoff volume between
Yeah.
pre and post will be 49%. So a 49% reduction in the amount of runoff volume coming off the street after the Green Street is constructed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So basically, we're talking 1 out of every 2 drops aren't making it to the, what is that, Cross Creek, Little Cross Creek?
Blondes Creek.
Which one? Blunt's Creek. Blunt's Creek. That's fantastic. That really
And
is.
then peak flow reductions are about 45% between pre and post retrofit as well.
Which I would like to point out that this area, because of the amount of impervious area that exists within the area,
Yeah.
the current stormwater ordinance that we have, if there was some redevelopment within the area,
Right.
they would have received credit, and there will have not been any requirement for stormwater treatment
Right.
within the site. So we are able to provide within the right-of-way stormwater treatment that otherwise wouldn't have been provided in any other way.
No, that's awesome. So basically, you're saying it is absolutely a tool to
Yeah.
encourage redevelopment
Definitely.
along the street. In addition to, as Katie said, the beautification. Both of you said how the streets become much more beautiful.
Definitely.
All right.
And we do have some businesses that have been abandoned within the area, so there is potential for redevelopment.
Now, have you seen any businesses come back?
Not yet.
Not yet. That's the right answer. Not yet, but they're coming. Yeah.
We hope.
Well, some final thought on the Green Street. Both of you, and Katie, yours might be from a sort of a global view. Anything You feel like you want the audience to know about green streets before we sign off?
I just think they're really great for the community, getting people involved on knowing what stormwater is and just making the community a better place as a whole.
That's awesome. So improving the quality of life is what I'm hearing. And Giselle, anything about the Fayetteville Street? One last thing you want us to know about Person Street?
I would say a lot of people within the city says that this project was a big challenge because it was the first time that we were doing something like this. However, I would say that the challenge was well worth it to see the difference that we are doing within the community.
That's wonderful. I thank you so much for saying that. And if anyone is interested in learning more about the Green Street, in May we're coming to Fayetteville to talk. To talk about. Giselle's like, really? Yeah. We're coming in May to talk in our construction SCM training. We're coming to Fayetteville. Giselle's going to be speaking at it, and you'll have an opportunity to tour the street and hear and see what Giselle is like in real life. And she's really a very entertaining presenter. And I'm telling you that, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. A great presenter. Jason, you're about to find the date for us?
May 16th.
Oh, it's perfect timing. May 16th. So you are interested, after you're done enjoying your St. Patty's Day, go online and look up our construction stormwater control measure inspection program and come down to Fayetteville and see this incredible green street.
We'll give you a VIP tour.
A VIP tour. Katie, see if you can come back from Colorado.
Definitely.
All right. Hey, Katie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Giselle, thank you so much for driving up.
Thank you for having me.
Jason, great job.
It's my pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to have you this afternoon. I'd like to thank Simone Keith for being our technical director. Remember, we're always happy when it rains.